Hello students, welcome to your and our beautiful channel Maths Nation. In my previous class, I have studied you about that root 2 is an irrational number. We have already proved that root 2 is an irrational number. Then in this class, I will study you that to prove that root n is not a rational number if n is not a perfect square. When the n is a perfect square, when n is a perfect square, then can root n is equal to rational number. Root n is rational number. Otherwise, root n is an irrational number. Root n is an irrational number. Let us prove. Let n be the whole number and not a perfect square. N is a whole number but not a perfect square. Not a perfect square. Not a perfect square. If possible, let the square root of n. Root n is a rational number. If possible, take root n is a rational number. Then, if it is a rational number, it can be written in the form of p by q. Then root n equal to p by q, which is in the simplest form. P and q are in simplest form and q is not equal to 0. According to the condition of rational number, if root n is a rational number, then root n can be expressed in p by q form, where p and q both are in lowest term or simplest form and q is not equal to 0, means they do not have any common factor. Then square both the sides. N equal to p square upon q square. Then what is p square? P square equal to nq square. And n is the factor of p square, which means n is also a factor of p. Then if n is the factor of p, let p equal to nm. Then p square is equal to n square m square. Then we have taken p square is equal to nq square. Here we get p square equal to n square m square. Then equate them. This means nq square is equal to n square m square nn. Then what we get? Q square equal to nm square. Means q square is a multiple of n. Means n is a factor of q square. If n is the factor of q square, n must be factor of q. Here we get n is the factor of p. N is the factor of p. Here we get n is the factor of q. Means p and q have a common factor. Means p and q both have common factor n. Both have common factor n, which contradicts, because we have taken root n equal to p by q, where p and q both are in simplest form, means they do not have common factor, but here we get they both have n as a common factor. This means root n is not a rational number. Root n is an irrational number. Okay? Then theorem 1. Negative of a irrational number is also a irrational number. Negative of a irrational number is also a irrational number. If let x be an irrational number, this means minus x must be a irrational number. If minus x is not a irrational number, let it be a rational number. If minus x is a rational number, then negative of a rational number is also a rational number. Minus x of minus x means x. Here we get x is a rational number, but what we have taken? X is an irrational number. This means negative of a irrational number is always irrational number. If x is irrational, minus x must be irrational. Then what is theorem 2? The sum of rational and irrational number is an irrational number. The sum of rational and irrational number is an irrational number. Let x be a rational number. Let x be a rational number where y is an irrational number. Y is an irrational number. Then according to theorem, x plus y is an irrational number. Is an irrational number. Suppose x plus y is not an irrational number. This means x plus y is a rational number. X plus y is a rational number. X is also a rational number. Then x plus y minus x must be a rational number, because in our previous class we have already studied the properties of rational number. If subtraction of a rational number is also a rational number. If x plus y is a rational number, x is a rational number, x plus y minus x must be a rational number. But here what we get? X plus y minus x, x cancel, y is a rational number. But what we have taken? We have taken y is an irrational number. This contradicts our assumption. This means what? The sum of a rational and irrational number is an irrational number. Then theorem 3. What? Theorem 3. The product of a non-zero rational number and irrational number is an irrational number. The product of a rational number and an irrational number is an irrational number. Suppose x is a rational number. X is a rational number and y is an irrational number. Y is an irrational number. Then their product xy is an irrational number. Theorem 3, irrational number. Let it be rational. Let xy be rational. Then what happened? Xy upon x, rational number upon rational number, must be a rational number, but y is an irrational number. This contradicts. This means product of a rational number and irrational number is a irrational number. Then next, but the theorem, the sum difference product and quotient of two rational number need not be a two irrational number need not be a irrational number. The sum of two irrational number need not be an irrational number, may be rational, may be irrational. Suppose 2 root 2 and minus root 2. Root 2 is an irrational number, minus root 2 is also an irrational number. But root 2 plus minus root 2, what? 0. 0 is a rational number. Root 3 is an irrational number, minus root 3 is also an irrational number. They are sum what? 0. 0 is an rational number. But root 2 is an irrational number, root 3 is an irrational number. Root 2 plus root 3 is also an irrational number. And next, product. Root 2 is an irrational number, root 3 is an irrational number. Root 2 into root 3 is root 6 is also an irrational number, but root 2 is irrational and root 2 is irrational. Root 2 into root 2 we get 2 is an rational number. Then division. Root 2 divide root 3 is an irrational number, but 2 root 2 divide root 2. Root 2 cancel, we get 2 rational number. This means sum, difference, product and quotient of two irrational number need not be an irrational number. Sometimes it may be rational, it may be irrational. Some examples, take some examples, identify the following as rational or irrational number. Take some examples, identify. Root 4 equal to 2, what? Rational number. 3 root 18, what is root 18 can be written as 3 root 2, 3 root 2, this is 9 root 2 is an irrational number. Minus 64 root, what? Minus 8, irrational number. Then whether root 2 plus 2 whole square is an rational or irrational. Let us find out. A plus b whole square, then a square plus b square plus 2ab, then root 2 square 2 plus 4 plus 4 root 2. This is 6 plus 4 root 2. This is an irrational number. Today this much. Like, share and subscribe and stay tuned for the upcoming videos and press the bell icon to get the notification of the upcoming videos. Thank you, students.